Welcome Gemini to your in-depth monthly forecast for December 2024 for the Ascendant, Sun or the Moon. If you order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, you also get your life roadmap report 30% off, but also my free gift of your zodiac general, love, Chinese and Indian forecast for the coming year. Please see the link below for more. The personal forecast is totally unique to each person it's produced for and will give you searing insights for the next year. You'll get the rest of 24 free on the screen now. I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the month. As ever, we need to be mindful of your ruler Mercury, which does continue its retrograde through to the 15th, but it is in your sector of relating, where we have the moon applying to the sun. So we have a new moon in your sector of relating on the first day. We're going to have two new moons this month. The second is on the 30th, so it's a black moon month, which itself is a celestial wonderment. But this beginning of the month gives you a lot of opportunity to set your intentions about what you want in terms of the alliances in your life. Now, whether you're in a committed relationship, you work with people that you get on well with, you've got good family life and friendships, or things are more challenging, what this particular new moon gives you the chance to do is understand what you need, what might not be quite being fulfilled at this time. But it also gives you an opportunity to think about what other people you're connecting to may feel they're not getting from you. And with Mercury in the retrograde, there is always the chance of cross wires. And because Jupiter is in your sign, also in retrograde, we've got two planets that are being hosted by signs where they're in their detriment that are in retrograde. So it's not a time to take relationships for granted, particularly as Saturn, the planet of responsibility, obligation, limitation, but the ruler of time and fate, is right at the top of your chart and broadly T-square that opposition between your ruler Mercury and also Jupiter, but also pretty close to squaring up to the new moon too. So how you're perceived, whether it's at work, professionally, in terms of your local community, could in some ways be influenced by the way you relate. So if you're very skillful at it, doesn't mean to say there won't be the odd bump in the road over the following month, but it is a chance to think positively, because the sign of Sagittarius is very much about getting on the front foot and being very dynamic, but there is a need to just be realistic too. And it may be it's those professional relationships that need the greatest care, because since the 2nd of July, Neptune, the planet of dreams, has been in a retrograde in the same part of your situation as Saturn. Now, Saturn, of course, has completed its retrograde season on the 15th of November. Neptune joins it this month on the 7th of December. But both Saturn and Neptune are applying in a potentially challenging way to your situation this month. And that's because those worldly interactions may be where you've been feeling the most pressure, the most resistance. So even if it's not your personal relationships, there may still be people that you're needing to lean into in terms of their needs. So that could be a company you work for, maybe it's a change in vibe there, different managers coming in, perhaps you're a manager and you have to relate some difficult choices to the people you work with. So for a lot of us, Saturn and Neptune being in Pisces has pushed us really to become more conscious of the emotion of that part of life. So for you, it's the emotion of your work, your public presence. But the new moon, of course, can be a time, if you're single, when you can just really ask the universe to bring that special person into your world. And the planet of relating, Venus, actually starts this month in a very deep and passionate part of your chart, forging a link to Uranus in your 12th house. Is it possible that someone from your past keeps calling out to you. Maybe subconsciously, maybe you've had dreams about them, maybe you've seen their images pop up on social media, but you could find yourself tempted to get in touch with someone that you did once have quite an electric connection to. Would that be the right thing to do? Only you could say. It's also possible that you could have perhaps a more confidential connection, particularly if you're already in a relationship. There may be someone else who is just having some kind of impact upon you, and that energy can feed into the first week of this month. But on the 6th, your ruler Mercury sits in the disk of the Sun exactly. It's a cazimi, but it's an inferior conjunction because Mercury is in its retrograde through to mid-month. But whatever you want around relationships will be amplified at that time. But it could give you an opportunity to have a moment of brilliance, particularly if you're wanting to connect to someone and work collaboratively with them. Or it could give you the confidence to make that connection to someone that you've long admired. So that's interesting. Now Mars starts this month in a very dynamic link to the new moon. So if there are things that you want to say and you want to be persuasive, the link between Mars, the position of the moon, but also the North Node right at the start of the month is a dazzling one, but then Mars goes into its retrograde, which occurs every 2 years. It's going to be retracing its steps in the sign of Leo through to the 6th of January, whence it will rewind back into the sign of Cancer, which for you is to do with life's foundations, everyday money. It will emerge back into the sign of Leo on the 18th of April. And you're going to find, particularly with Uranus arriving in your sign for 4 months from the 7th of July next year, and also Saturn and Neptune pitching up in the sign of Aries, linking back to Pluto. Lots of exciting stuff's coming your way next year, for sure. And of course, Jupiter, the planet of growth, will move into the sign of Cancer, where she's exalted, which could be good for your finances. So this slowing down of Mars, it could create some frustrations for you. But if you are wanting to work most on finances, the frustration that you're feeling now can actually work out to your advantage. So the message that you need to share can be clarified by the time Mars re-emerges in Leo on the 18th of April. And then next year you can see there's lots for you to go for in terms of opening out your approach in a much more dynamic way. But on the 7th, Neptune ends that long retrograde. If you have felt a bit disillusioned perhaps with your work, if you are someone who's quite sensitive, quite a caring person, and you do work in quite rigid, unyielding and unbending type of environment, that could have felt quite suffocating. But perhaps Neptune going forwards is encouraging you, particularly when it forges a square to the full moon in your sign on the 15th, to think about how you can influence things in terms of your professional future by getting in touch with the platform that or the outlet that would help you to shine in a more natural way. But also on the 7th, much more encouragingly, Venus moves into your sister air sign of Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius is an interesting transition. I have it here natally. My wife has it, conjunct my sun. So Venus in Aquarius people can be a bit different when it comes to relationships, can get on with lots of different types of people who may have very different ways of being. Generally, Venus in Aquarius can be a bit less judgy, but also it can be very friendly. So if you are wanting to bring a greater sense of spontaneity into your love life, Venus suggests there could be an opportunity to mix and mingle with different friends. It immediately connects to Pluto. If you have been struggling to understand what you want from an existing relationship, Venus bursting into Aquarius and applying to Pluto will give you an ultimate slice of truth. Whether you act on it or not would be down to you, but I feel that that would help you to understand what could be really good for you. Now, it's also true that Venus is going to be going opposite Mars, so the chance of being really attracted to someone from the 10th to the 15th that you know personally is definitely stepped up, particularly if it's someone who's quite bright-minded. Now, that wouldn't be a surprise for you. You've got one of the most nimble and dexterous ways of being of all the zodiac signs, and a constant need for stimulation. But if you encounter someone who was a bit more like you, perhaps a bit unpredictable, a bit edgy, but a bit provocative, it actually could really be something that you like. But the full moon on the 15th does really flag up that if you're not happy in a relationship, if you set your intentions on your new moon earlier in the year, in June, and it's not really being fulfilled as far as a relationship's concerned, with Mercury going direct also on the 15th, you may want to take greater control. But there is a 3-degree square to Neptune, so you need to make sure that you have clarity before making any binding decisions. But I think Venus applying to Pluto will certainly help you to have it. There could be more than one option. Wouldn't be a total surprise for yourself, because you've got such a gift for getting on with different types of people. But 21st does see the winter solstice. This ushers in cardinal quadrant 4, the last of the 4 quadrants of the year. Western tropical astrology is predicated on the seasons. And the solar eclipse, the last in the series that's going to be repeated in Aries on the 29th of March, is once more emphasizing that friendship dimension in your situation. But I feel that this nodal axis applying to the winter solstice could get you thinking a lot about how your values mesh with other people, or maybe even how you earn money, but earn money for the long term. So the nodal axis, the point of destiny, is for the current time through to the 11th of January, guiding you towards something that fulfills your heart, and it could be some kind of collective, whereas the winter solstice in Capricorn is much more it's much more about the reality of finance. You can't be too idealistic, I feel, is the lesson from that. Chiron goes direct on the 29th. If there has been some friendships or some connections that have disappointed you, not because of your ability to rub along, but more about other people not quite celebrating what you bring to situations, I feel Chiron going direct will help you to move on a bit. But the new moon, which occurs at the end of the year on the 30th, the black moon, is very much about being business-like. And if you are someone who's found with Pluto, if you've got late planets in Gemini and Pluto's been forging the quincunx to those positions, you may have found that earning a living or creating a financial future that feels steady has proved a bit elusive in recent years. So this new moon can help you, as long as you can get over the energy of the way the nodes apply to the winter solstice. You can have an opportunity to really move forwards and burst into the new year. The more entrepreneurial part of your nature can get a chance to thrive. But Christmas Eve, we do have that square between Jupiter in your sign and with Saturn, which is going to be applying all month. It occurred before on the 12th of August, on the 19th of August, and really it's a big deal because they came together in a conjunction in 2020, which only happens once every 20 years. One represents growth, Jupiter, one represents more limitation. The sign of Pisces for you is where you want to reach for the sky. I feel that you could find that your individual way of expressing yourself does in some ways get scrutinized just before Christmas, but it could be around your professional situation, which could feel frustrating for you if you're trying to give it absolutely everything. But by the end of the year, Mars is opposite Pluto, and if you've yet to watch my Pluto in Aquarius video for 2025, please see the link below. Have a great December, Gemini. Please do check out your year 2025 deep dive video forecast by clicking on the link beneath this one. Take care, all the best, and goodbye.